which I don't think was that easy. I think it was a bit tough the first day she went out. No one was interested.
Yeah.
Um, then a lovely lady, Mrs. Edwards, on a cheese stall in Crewe Market, felt sorry for her, I think, and said, "Leave them on the store. I'll have them on sale return."
Welcome to the third episode of the 12 Days of Christmas Joy interview series 2024. You are in the right place if you love food and need some inspiration and joy in your life. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Sarah Darlington, Managing Director of Mrs. Darlington's Preserves. Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, Becky. It's a pleasure.
Sarah is the daughter of Marion Darlington, who started the company in 1980, and they are most famous for their lemon curd. Sarah has taken the company from strength to strength, and now Mrs. Darlington's export their fabulous preserves and jams and chutneys worldwide. Sarah is a wife, mother to Jack and Molly, and as well as running the family business, is a passionate supporter of the Christie charity, which she's been fundraising for since 1993 when her father was a Christie patient. Sarah has been given the honour of the British Empire Medal for her services to charity. So congratulations, Sarah, on your British Empire Medal. I mean, that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, it was such a shock as well. It was such a lovely surprise. It was in the depths of December 20, so it was obviously quite a hard year for everybody. And I got a phone call out of the blue saying, "You haven't replied to the the email we've sent to you." And I was like, "I'm really sorry. I don't know who you are or what you're talking about, basically." And it was Emily from the Cabinet Office and they'd sent out, because of COVID, instead of writing to recipients, they'd written an email, and it'd gone into my spam.
Oh
So
my God.
I had no idea. So I had to go back and say, "Emily, you're going to have to explain to me what on earth you're asking me." And then she told me what had been given to me and would I accept it. And of course, I was absolutely thrilled, very shocked.
Yeah.
Um, but I did accept it on behalf of the whole Christie's committee, because it's not just me.
Yeah.
So, but it was a huge honour. And as a passionate supporter of the royal family, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Still can't quite get my head around it.
And did you go to the palace to receive your?
No, it was because of COVID again. It was awarded in Tatton Park in Cheshire, so it was done by the Deputy Lieutenant of Cheshire. But it's still a very special occasion.
Yeah.
My mum and my husband and children were able to come with me, so that was really lovely. And then I got the pleasure of going to a garden party at Buckingham Palace, which is
Wow.
very exciting. And then out of the blue, last year, literally with about 5 days' notice, and quite a shock, I had an invitation to the King's coronation, which is not
Oh,
what you expect.
wow. Oh my goodness me. That's amazing.
Bit of stress trying to find out what to wear with 5 days' notice. Quite
Yes.
funny.
Yeah.
And that was
Oh,
amazing. Such an
oh,
experience.
oh, it must have been. Absolutely. Oh, wow. Amazing. That is incredible. Oh, amazing stories to tell. Wonderful. And now I'm really interested for you to share the story as well about how your mum started Mrs. Darlington's.
Yeah, no. Well, it was actually my parents together. So it was Tom and Marion. And my parents had a poultry farm near Nantwich in Cheshire, and they had too many cracked eggs that they couldn't sell and needed to use. So
Right.
my mum was always a very good cook. So my dad said to her, "Marion, why don't you use the eggs up and make some of your, lemon curd," which was something we always ate at home. And she said, "Okay." So, but originally, so there was no grand plan, Becky. It was just, let's use up the cracked eggs. And I remember us making sort of 20 jars and then maybe 50 jars. And at one point, I was a member of the local brownie pack, and we collected jam jars for mum
Oh,
to
really?
use. We didn't even buy the jars because it was tiny. We just made it in the house, in the farmhouse. And it was literally a 50 or 100 jars, all different shapes and sizes. And
Yeah.
she took them round. She had an egg round in the local towns, and she took them on the egg round to try and persuade people to buy them from her, which I don't think was that easy. I think it was a bit tough the first day she went out. No one was interested.
Yeah.
And then a lovely lady, Mrs. Edwards, on a cheese stall in Crewe Market, felt sorry for her, I think, and said, "Leave them on the store. I'll have them on sale return." And before the week was out, she'd phoned up and said, "They've all gone, Mary, and I'll have some more."
Fantastic.
So
Oh my
it was
God.
literally from very, very small beginnings with no plan, no
Yeah.
grand design. It really was just, let's make some lemon curd to use up the
Yeah.
eggs.
a real kitchen table startup.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And in your opinion, what is the best way to enjoy Mrs. Darlington's lemon curd? Is it just on hot buttered toast or?
I think that's how the majority of people enjoy it. Lemon curd is very much, I would say to people that don't understand what curd is, just think of it as another jam. It's however you use jam, you can use lemon curd. So you can put it on your toast, on your muffins, your croissants. A lot of people use it in their cakes.
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah.
put it in the cake. At home when we were children, we had it on pastry cases like lemon curd tarts. So
Nice.
that was how we always had it as a special treat at a birthday party. We had lemon curd and a little tart.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that people don't know you can do with it is you can make ice cream with it. So it's a fab
Oh,
ingredient in baking. So with the cakes and biscuits, but
yeah.
it's also makes a really good ice cream.
Oh,
And you
wow.
don't have to just use lemon curd. We have lots of different types now. So one of our latest ones is toffee apple curd for this time of year for Halloween.
Yes. Oh, lovely.
Yes, I know we're past that now, but it's this sort of nice wintry, and we have a lovely recipe card. It's on our website that you use with crunchy bars and make a toffee apple crisp ice cream.
Oh, so that's really kind of cozy and wintry, isn't it?
Yes,
So
yeah, so
I'll
it's a
put the
great thing.
link to your website under
Yes.
the details below. So if anybody's interested in the recipes, they can easily go and find them on your website.
Yes, no, so as we're all passionate cooks at Mrs. Darlington's. So we started doing recipe cards a few years ago, and we do them all ourselves genuinely from scratch. They're not just pulled off the internet and shoved on a piece of card. They are tested and tried, and so, a lot don't make it. There's nothing more frustrating than having a recipe and it doesn't work, and you've wasted money and time on ingredients and your effort.
Yeah,
So we all test them quite a lot before they make it onto a recipe card. So, but
brilliant.
those
And
sort of ice cream recipes, they're great. You can do them ahead, get them in the freezer, and then pull them out when you need them over the Christmas
do you
festivities.
need an ice cream maker, or can you just use like the stir and put them in the freezer,
Yes.
give them a
No, you
stir?
don't need an ice cream maker. No, they're sort of more basic ice cream recipe than that.
Yeah.
But they work really well, and it's just it, and the children love it. It's a really good one for children, the toffee apple one.
Yeah, I bet. Yes. Well, I like recipes, and I had a look at your website that are quite sort of straightforward with fairly few steps, so they're not so
Yes.
complicated. Obviously, you can go complicated if you want, but I also think you can get really good result from, keeping it simple as
Yes.
well.
A- And I think we've tried really hard with the recipe cards not to make them overly complicated. And what we find, which is actually quite sweet, is we have quite a lot of customers phoning us up and maybe they've never baked before or they're new to making a dessert. And it's for those sort of people that we try and make it straightforward so they get a bit of confidence. And like you say, you can still come up with something really good. It doesn't have to be, cordon bleu. And we've actually had some lovely gentlemen on, not remotely being sexist, there's some very good chefs out there, but we've had some lovely gentlemen who are perhaps a bit older and lost their wives and haven't cooked before and have said they're working their way through the recipe cards because it's easy to follow. So that was really sweet.
Oh, fabulous. Oh, that's really good. Really good testament to your recipes. Yeah, now, so I'm interested in your dad's role in building up the company because I think he is quite integral, I believe, to building
Yes,
up Mrs.
that's
Darlington,
right.
wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I also believe that he was quite an inventor. Was that right? Did he?
Yeah, I think, yes, he was. So my dad, Tom, was a farmer, but I think like many farmers, they have to be masters of a lot of skills. And I think
Yeah,
had he had another time, another life, he'd have been a very good engineer. But he loved making things. He loved thinking how we could do something better. In his view, there was always a better way.
yeah,
But he was of that sort of maybe wartime mentality as well, that you didn't just go out and buy it. You look around what you had and you could see what you could make with it. So our very first filling machine back at the farm, when we got to past the point of wanting to fill with a jug, he made that from parts of an old milking parlour. so, so the suction pumps. And it worked for years. I mean, we don't have it now, but it worked for a long time.
yeah,
And he was very much instrumental in setting up the production kitchen we have now, which is obviously a little bit more advanced than it was back in 1982. But without him, he was the one that could see a better way always. And certainly he'd always try to find a simpler way. There was some very elaborate machinery, but dad could see that there was a simpler way to do it. So, and
Interesting.
a lot of that is still there now. His presence is very much, we lost him in 2019. He was 91, but he still came into the business every day, probably up to the last week or two. So
Wow.
I'm sure he's somewhere in the sky in a big jam factory, redesigning it as we speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, and Sarah, tell me about how you came into the business. Was it always your plan to go and work in the family business?
Not at all, Becky. A bit like starting up with the lemon curd, there was no plan. No, I worked for Barclays Bank actually. I
Okay.
didn't enjoy the role, wasn't enjoying it. Decided to hand my notice in because it really wasn't what I thought it would be. But I was used to money. I was used to having a car and going out. My parents said, well, it's going to be quite a few months before the term starts if you want to go back to college. Why don't you just work for us for a moment and you can help your mum in the kitchen um, and see how it goes.
And that
So
went,
I had no intention other than to do it for a short while. And my dad said he'd pay me the same money I got in the bank. And I thought, well, I'll do it for 6 months and see how it goes.
yeah, yeah, and now you're still here.
Yes, yes, it's all these years later. And if he was here, I'm still sure he'd still like to be paying me the princess of £60 a week, which is what I got in the beginning.
Oh, Sarah, well, it's amazing. I mean, you really seem to be, continuing to grow the business and develop it. Do you enjoy that? So what's the favorite part? You must be do a lot of roles within the business. What's your favorite?
I do, and I think that's what keeps it interesting as well.
Yeah,
Um, I love talking to customers, even if it's our customers or the end users, as it were.
yeah,
And it's really nice to go out and meet everybody when we get chance. So I love all that side of it. Um, but I quite like all actually I'm unusual. I quite like the math side of it too. So I love the accounts and the VAT, which I know most people hate, but there's something very satisfying about reconciling a bank statement for me. So I think I like all of it really. The only bit I don't like is health and safety.
oh, yeah.
Not sure anybody likes that.
Yeah, and there's probably quite a bit of that in a jam factory, isn't there?
It gets more and more. I'm glad I didn't know back 20 years ago how much would come because we'd have a lot of food safety, obviously, which is fair enough, and health
Yeah,
and safety
yeah,
has just gone on a pace. So it's
yeah,
it's that side of things that running a business is not the fun part. So
yeah.
the nice part is meeting customers and getting lovely letters and emails from people who have enjoyed your products.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
that's really nice.
Brilliant. So, and as we are coming up to Christmas, and I do love eating and cooking as well, and I love Christmas food. What's your favourite Christmas recipe?
Oh, I have lots actually, Becky. I'm a huge Christmas person. So I start cooking for Christmas I probably started cooking about a month ago, about the beginning of November. So I'm a great believer in putting everything in the freezer. So I'm obviously quite busy, so I can't afford to get to Christmas and think, crumbs, I've got everything to do. So as the weeks go by, I make bread sauce, I'll put it in the freezer and applesauce and puddings. Because on Christmas Day, I just don't want the stress of thinking I've got to do everything from scratch. I even make my gravy ahead of time
Do you?
and
Oh,
freeze
wow,
it. Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's just one less thing to do on the day.
Yes,
One
yeah.
of my favourite recipes at the moment is our mincemeat recipe. So we've got a new recipe out that we spent ages working on because we all love a mince pie, but they are quite fiddly to make.
Yes.
Especially when you're doing quite a lot. So we've got a new tray bake that has got like a crumble topping on it, and it's
Um,
actually I think it's nicer than a mince pie, but it's just easier to make. So as we speak, that's my favourite recipe because it's saving me cutting out all the circles of pastry for the mince pies.
and I also noticed, because I love doing afternoon tea, that you've got mincemeat cupcakes. And I thought
Yes.
that's a really great idea, sort of putting the mincemeat inside the cupcake.
Yeah, no, we try and do different things with mincemeat because I think people buy a jar and maybe they'll make some mince pies and they get left with half a jar. And it's just trying to think of different ways to use the mincemeat up that's not just the traditional mince pie. And actually, it's a really good ingredient. I think we've got 4 or 5 recipes on the website now.
Yeah.
Because we were very proud that we won an award for our mincemeat. The Daily Telegraph a couple of years ago did the best shop bought mincemeat, and to our absolute joy, we came first. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
Congratulations. Well,
thank
lovely.
you.
So again, you will have put the link there so that to your mincemeat. Can they buy direct from your website or is
Yes,
it?
they can.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we can either help customers find a local shop because we do supply through independent shops. So your local greengrocers, delicatessen, butchers, even
yeah.
garden centres, farm shops are fabulous stockists for Mrs. Darlington's. But you can also buy from mail order if you're not able to get to a shop or they're not very handy for you. So yeah, we can definitely do that for customers.
Fabulous, fantastic. So we're all going to be set up for our Christmas baking. So now, as you said, Sarah, you're quite busy and you're a mum, you're a wife, you run a successful business, and you've kind of given us a hint. I'm sort of wondering if you've got any tips for all of us as like to how to fit everything in. And it sounds like you kind of you do actually work kind of you're quite a planner, you work a bit in advance and
Yes, yes. And
that
I think that's that. I mean, heavens, I'm no better than everybody else. I'm still running around like a headless chicken just before Christmas. But I think the thing that I like to do is I like to make lists. So
yeah.
I'm a huge maker of lists. I've discovered the joy of a sticky note lately. So the sticky notes everywhere to complement the list. And I do like to get ahead. So I do literally make a list of everything I'm going to need. And then the weeks up to Christmas, I make one or two things a week and put
Yeah.
them in the freezer.
That sounds
Um,
like such a good idea. So that, especially because you can freeze so much, can't you?
yes, absolutely.
And then you can enjoy, because you want to enjoy that the Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I quite like Christmas Eve because it's sort of the anticipation of it all happening, isn't it?
Yes, and you don't want to be running around like a lunatic
Yeah.
trying to make things from scratch on Christmas Eve. They need to be all in the freezer so you can have a glass of something bubbly
Yeah,
and enjoy it with your family and friends. So
exactly.
no,
And
and
talk to
that's
people as if
yes,
if they come to your house, you're there, and then you can do the socializing bit as well, can't you? Which
yeah.
is
My Christmas table's laid about 4 days in advance, and actually I quite like walking past it. I'm lucky that we have a separate dining room, so I can do that, obviously. But it also makes the room look festive. So
yeah.
although I think I drive my husband mad with the amount of Christmas decorations and table decorations that I buy every year.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, well, Sarah, it's been so lovely to talk to you and wish you a very, very happy Christmas. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Becky. Happy Christmas to you and to everyone that's watching.
Thank you.